Thursday Nightmares channel.
I woke up on the cold ground, my skin in direct contact with the damp earth. My whole body ached, as if I had been run over by a truck. I blinked, trying to figure out where I was. My blurry eyes made out a forest around me, tall and dense trees. The air had a metallic, nauseating smell, like blood. The worst part was that I knew it wasn't just a smell. Slowly, I lifted my heavy body, feeling my muscles stiff and sore. I was naked, covered in scratches and bruises. What had happened to me? The last thing I remembered was being with my friends, drinking near the campfire. But something was wrong. An unsettling feeling crawled through my mind. Fragments of memory emerged, like pieces of a puzzle that didn't fit together. My hands trembled when I looked at them. They were covered in blood. It wasn't just mine. Panic began to rise inside me. Then the first memory came, a quick, painful flash, the full moon shining in the sky, my body convulsing. I screamed, but the scream wasn't human. The unbearable pain of bones breaking and rearranging made me fall to my knees in the memory. I had transformed. What I had tried to avoid at all costs, what I had hidden from everyone, happened. I became the monster I always feared. Full moon nights were always like this. Alice knew my secret. She always helped me avoid the worst. But this time something went wrong. I couldn't control myself. The beast inside me had taken full control. I remember the campfire being out, the screams of terror, but above all, I remember Alice. She ran to me, staring without fear. "Jacob," she shouted, trying to bring me back. But there was no Jacob at that moment. Only the wolf, hungry, furious. I saw in her eyes the exact moment she realized it was too late. I lunged at her, unable to stop. The beast inside me wanted blood, flesh. Alice tried to dodge, screaming my name, but her words didn't reach me. All I heard was the fast beating of her heart, the sound of blood rushing through her veins. I slammed her to the ground with brutal force, tearing her skin with my claws. The taste of her blood was still in my mouth, metallic, sweet, and bitter at the same time. My head spun, the memories coming in waves, drowning me. My friends. They were all there. Mutilated bodies scattered around the clearing, their blood staining the dark ground. I hunted them down one by one, without mercy, without pity. They screamed, begged, but I was deaf to their pleas. The beast knew no regret. Only hunger and fury. I remember Jack, my best friend. He tried to fight, tried to hit me with a piece of wood. I remember the crack when it broke on my back, but it was useless. I was too strong, too fast. I knocked him down and tore his throat out before he could run. The gurgling sound of his blood still echoed in my mind. The pain I felt now was unbearable. It wasn't just physical. It was guilt, the horror of what I had done. I had killed them all. Alice, Jack, Sophie, everyone. I remember Sophie trying to hide behind a tree, crying desperately. She called my name, "Jacob, please." But the monster knew no compassion. I found her and ended her life as if she were any other prey. The memories kept coming, each worse than the last. I remembered Alice lying on the ground, her face bloody, her eyes glazed with terror and pain. She knew about the monster inside me, but she never believed it would attack her. She trusted me. And I destroyed her. My heart clenched, and a lump formed in my throat. How could I live with myself after this? I fell to my knees again, feeling the weight of my guilt crushing my chest. I wanted to vomit, but I could only sob. The images of the mangled bodies, the smell of fresh blood in the air, all of it suffocated me. I tried to breathe, but it was as if the air couldn't reach my lungs. All that remained was despair. My head throbbed with the violence of the memories. The last thing I saw before passing out was the full moon, shining cruelly above me. The same moon that turned me into this monster. That night, I lost everything. My friends, my girlfriend, my humanity. Now, I was just an empty shell, haunted by the screams and blood that would never be forgotten. As I slowly got up, my feet sinking into the forest mud, I knew there was no turning back. Everyone was dead. I was condemned to carry the weight of my own monstrosity. Each piece of memory reminded me that I was no longer human. But I wasn't alone. The barking of dogs in the distance was getting closer, and the deep voices of men echoed through the forest. Cops. They were hunting me. Adrenaline surged through my veins, but my feet faltered, and my weak body couldn't sustain the escape. I stumbled, falling into the mud, my heart pounding in my chest. I needed to flee. The weight of what I had done and the guilt crushed me, but the survival instinct was stronger. The trees around me closed in like suffocating shadows. The barking intensified, and before I could react, the dogs were upon me. I felt the brutal impact as they took me down, their sharp teeth tearing into my flesh. I tried to fight, but I was too exhausted. At that moment, I realized there was no escape. I was handcuffed and pulled out of the mud, soaked and defeated. But something else was wrong. Night was falling quickly, and with it, the danger grew. As the cops talked, I overheard one of them suggest it would be easier to finish me off right there in the forest. But his superior cut the conversation short. "I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that," the man said, giving his subordinate a serious look. I was dragged to my feet, pulled away, but as we moved further into the darkness of the forest, something began to change. The full moon rose in the sky, illuminating the treetops, and the dogs, once fierce, began to grow restless. The barking stopped, and one by one, the animals fled, disappearing into the night as if they had seen something terrifying. I knew what was coming. I felt the familiar tingling at the edges, the heat taking over my body. The transformation was starting. The pain returned, tearing my skin, breaking my bones. The cops' warning shouts mixed with the grotesque sounds of my transformation. Terror gripped them, but for me, the beast was only just waking up again. The full moon reigned, and the hunt had begun once more.